I'm Karen Nelson, and you're listening to Becoming You Again, episode number 113.
Welcome to Becoming You Again, the podcast to help with your mental and emotional well-being during and after divorce. This is where you learn to overcome the trauma of your divorce by reconnecting with yourself, creating lasting emotional resilience, and living a truly independent life so your life will be even better than when you were married. I'm your host, Karen Nelson.
Welcome back to the podcast, my lovely ladies. Today, I am so excited to be joined by my friend and neighbor, Stephanie Hall. And Stephanie, I invited on the podcast because I wanted to have a conversation about tapping. Let me introduce you to Stephanie. Stephanie is an expert in tapping and other emotional and energy healing practices. She has found hope in learning that there are ways to recover from trauma, emotional pain, and negative thinking patterns, otherwise known as energy healing. She is certified in the Healer's Blueprint. She loves helping people by teaching them and providing them the insight and assistance to replace old thinking habits with a reframe for hope. She is a wife, a mother, a sister, and a friend. And of course, you just heard me say she is my friend and neighbor. Thank you so much for being here today, Stephanie.
Thanks, Karen, for letting me on the show. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So is there anything else that I didn't say in that intro of you that you wanted to kind of add so that the audience kind of knows who you are? Or are you ready to just jump right into this episode on tapping?
I think you said most of it. I do enjoy being out in nature and living near the mountains. And I enjoy being outside in my garden, although I wouldn't say I have a green thumb. I love to eat my raspberries.
Who doesn't? Raspberries are delicious, right?
Yeah.
And I think I've mentioned to my audience before that, we live in Utah and we live kind of right on the mountain bench. So we kind of are in the perfect place to, if you want to get outdoors, it's right there. You can go for a hike basically right outside your front door, which is amazing. So
Yes.
yeah. All right. Well, Stephanie, I haven't talked a lot on my podcast before about what tapping is. I think I've mentioned it in a few other podcasts, but I really wanted to save kind of what it is and how we go about it with someone who has a lot of experience with this. And I know that tapping for you has kind of had an impact in your life in leading to other areas where you really wanted to become an energy healer. Can you kind of describe your journey into finding tapping and then how that has expanded your life?
Yeah. So as I was thinking about that, I thought, well, what year was it when I first discovered tapping? And I recall helping my oldest child as he became a teenager and had all these gigantic emotions that were just overwhelming to him, overwhelming to me, just kind of disrupting the family. And we were trying to help him see, I'm sorry, but yes, you have to jump through the hoops and get through school. You have to turn in your assignments. And these things were hard for him, and he struggled to do them. And so we had him in some programs, and he was still fighting us on some of the programs. And one day the teacher said, well, maybe you should meet one of my friends, Angela, and she knows how to help kids and people process through their emotions. And she uses a technique called tapping. And so I went to one of Angela's classes, and she walked us through an experience with tapping. And I was a fan. I could tell right away that I was feeling better emotionally. And so tapping is kind of a nickname for what's called the emotional freedom technique, or EFT. And so tapping is kind of, it's what we do. It's what we're doing.
Right.
What we do, so it's easier to remember.
Yeah. And you're going to walk us through later in this episode kind of what a tapping process of where you tap on your body and how it helps you kind of tap into what's going on in your body and recognizing the emotions that are there and allowing them to process through you. And
Yes.
what I really love about the idea of EFT or emotional tapping is it's just another way of allowing yourself to feel your emotions and to process through them, because so many of us are raised to not feel our emotions. We are raised to push them down, to pretend like they're not there, to not feel in any way because, we're told that's bad, that's wrong, it makes you crazy, it makes you too emotional, it makes you whatever, right? And so we
Right.
don't really know, we aren't really taught ways of processing and allowing our emotions. And I teach my podcast listeners many, many different ways. And I love this idea of just having another avenue for people to try out and see if this really works for them. And
Yes.
so I'm so excited to have you here and to kind of explain more about it and walk us through what a tapping session would look like in the real world.
Right. Yeah. And that's true. We are often taught to stuff our feelings, to not say what we feel, or to not yell at our parents or get angry, um, and these negative emotions. So a lot of times we do repress them. Sometimes we don't realize that we're doing that. And I don't know if it's just because of my new awareness or if this really is a new trend, but the new trend is be mindful, feel your feelings, be in the present moment.
Yeah.
And this is one of the tools that helps us to do this. And maybe one of the first tools that I really thought, well, what am I feeling? How do I feel about this situation? And be able to kind of sit with it, talk about it out loud, and then tap on these points. And we'll go over what those points are before we do our practice session. But they're based on Chinese medical, Chinese acupuncture, Eastern medicine, which has been around for centuries and
Yeah.
centuries. And so they're called meridians, and the meridians are passageways for energy, just like our blood vessels move our blood up and down our body. And our meridians, their job is to move the energy through. And you can tell when you're feeling energetic and when you're not, and you can tell if things just don't feel quite right. And so when we tap on some of these meridian points, we're telling the body it's safe. We can release this energy that's been blocked because of our stress levels or fears. And we're just kind of training the brain to realize it's okay, I'm safe.
Yeah, I think this is going to be so useful for so many of my listeners because you know that most of my listeners are women who are divorced or going through a divorce. And
Right.
very often, when we're in that space of feeling so much fear of the unknown, of what the future is going to look like for yourself, or even so much grief over what you've lost, what might have been,
Yes.
we tend to hold on to that and, like you say, block it. And I have so many clients who will come to me and say, I have no energy, I don't know what I'm feeling, I have no idea to even recognize what's happening inside my body. One of the main things is you want to name the emotion before you can allow yourself to process through it. And oftentimes they'll even say things like, I don't even know what emotion I'm feeling, I don't even, like, they're so out of tune with their body. And so I love this idea of opening yourself up to connecting to certain points on your body to, as you say, allow that energy to flow and remind your body, no, we are safe in this moment right now, in the here and now. We are safe, we are okay, and we are going to just open ourselves up to whatever is happening inside and allow it to be there, to sit with it, as you mentioned, which
Sit with
is
it.
so important. It's
Yeah.
really the only way to process through an emotion, is to just let it be.
And I love how you say sometimes your clients can't even tell what exactly it is that they're struggling with. And you know what? That's okay. Start with what I feel uncomfortable, or I just don't feel right, or I feel tired. And I wonder why this is, and start tapping on those places. The setup statement where any tapping session is, even though, then you say, even though I feel like whatever the emotion is. And then the third part of it is, I love and accept myself. So it's just as effective to start not quite knowing what that feeling is and say,
Yeah.
even though I feel tired, I feel sad, I feel confused, um, it's okay. And I love and accept myself anyway, and start tapping through those points. And it kind of helps your brain to think about, what is stressing me out? What trauma am I feeling? What sadness? And then you just keep tapping through the points. You think about them. If it comes to you what it is, you can say it out loud. But the book that I'm using a lot for my information here, which I'll just say is by Nick Ortner, it's called The Tapping Solution. One of the examples he used was a mother trying to help her teenage daughter, and she didn't really want to or wasn't ready to express her feelings to her mom yet.
Yeah.
Her mom says, it's okay, just say about this, even though I feel sad about this situation that happened with my friend today, I love and accept me anyway. They tap through the points and her emotions come down, they calm down. And then if she wants to, she can talk about it. And if she doesn't, she's still brought that level of intensity down from really stressful to, okay, I'm starting to see that it's not as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah. And I love that last part of that statement of I love and accept myself anyway, because I think that often that's one of the hardest parts, especially with women. We are so hard on ourselves and we judge ourselves for so much. We even will judge ourselves for feeling a certain way, like I'm so angry or I'm so upset or I'm so scared or sad over this thing, this divorce, this whatever. And I shouldn't be feeling this way. It's almost like we tell ourselves we don't have a right to feel this way.
Yeah.
And so we can't love ourselves because we're feeling this way. But reminding yourself, like, no, emotions, first of all, are human. Everyone has them. It is a part of us. And even the negative ones, even the hard ones, even the scary ones, they are part of life and it's okay to feel them. And so just opening yourself up to recognizing, no, it's okay that I'm feeling whatever it is that I'm feeling. And I love myself and I accept myself anyway. Like I'm going to have these emotions and it's okay that they're there.
It is. It's a really good way to have self-love. And we really do need self-love because if we don't, it's harder to love other people around us. And there's always people that need our love and want our support.
Yeah. And loving people truly feels amazing. I mean, that's what we're feeling when we feel love is we feel the love that we feel for ourselves and for other people. And that's what feels so good. So tapping into more of that is such an important piece of just getting to know ourselves as humans, getting to know ourselves as individuals.
Yep.
So Stephanie, can you kind of, first of all, just name where the tapping points are? And then could you just walk us through what an example of the tapping process would look like if you were going to do it with someone or do it on your own?
Yes. So the tapping points, there's 9 of them. And we start with our setup statement, we start tapping on what they call the karate chop point, because it's that point on your hand between your pinky knuckle and your wrist, where you would imagine somebody karate chopping a piece of wood or whatever. Right. So that's the karate chop point, and we tap on that with our other hand, and you can use either hand and for the karate chop point. It doesn't matter. The meridians run down both sides of our bodies, and so you can use on your hand, you can't, but on some of these points, like under your eyes, you can do under both eyes, or you can choose whichever side feels more comfortable to you. So we've got the karate chop point, we've got the top of your head, and it's just, how you would balance a book right there in the middle of your head. And then
let me just interrupt you really quick. We're just tapping with our fingertips.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. Thanks
fingertips.
For stopping me on that. So it's like your index finger, your middle finger, your ring finger. Those are generally the 3 that I use.
Okay.
But you could just use one of those fingers too. And the intensity, you don't want it to be super hard, but you want your body to notice it. So it's not super soft, super hard. It's just kind of right in the middle for how hard you want to press down on that point. Okay. So you start with your karate chop point, then you've got your top of your head, as I was saying, and then your eyebrow point is as if you were going up the side of your nose to reach your eyebrow, right where your eyebrow starts. So that's your eyebrow point. And then you trace that outwards towards your temple. There's your side of the eye. It's not exactly the middle of your temple, but a little maybe closer to your eye, but anywhere in that area is close enough. Then you've got under your eye, which is under your cheekbone, right in the middle there. And then you have under your nose, obviously that where that spot is. Under your chin is kind of where your finger underneath your lips there, kind of where your chin turns. Then your collarbone. Now I like to use both points when I do the collarbone. It's not the bone itself, but about 2.5 to 3 inches under. There's some soft skin there. That's your collarbone point. And then you've got your point under your arm. So you look like a monkey with one arm crossed in front of your body, tapping under your arm and your armpit, kind of the bra line for women. Those are the points that we use.
Okay. And
So
so if somebody was going to either walk through this with someone else, watch a YouTube video or do it on their own, they would start, do they have to go in this order of like karate chop, head, eye, all the other places that you said?
I'm glad you asked that question, because these are just the standard points that Nick Ortner likes to use. And he does talk about how, they've done studies in the beginning. Does it matter what order you do it in and what points you do it in? And overall, they just said, you know what, the main point is to touch these points, either one of them or all of them. The point is that you're tapping on some of these points as you say the words and think about loving and accepting yourself. And so
okay.
don't get caught up too much in the details.
Okay.
When we do it, I'll try to remember to tell you which point we're on as we walk through them. And it just comes with practice. If I'm doing a tapping session with myself in the car, often I don't want to tap on top of my head because the cars next to me might look at me funny. And often I'll just tap the spot on my collarbone or under my chin, and you can just stay there. For me, tapping on a collarbone is just really a loving place to tap. And that makes me think of sometimes, not during tapping, but sometimes I just put my hand on my heart. And it's a good tool to just kind of take a deep breath, put your hand on your heart, and come back to the moment and, just tell yourself, you're safe, it's okay. It's just a way to tell yourself, I love you. And
I think it's really interesting. I've been in this trauma certification over the last few months and learning so much more about how we are all affected by trauma in different ways. And I'm learning so many different tools and techniques to recognize trauma, help ourselves heal from trauma. And one thing that we really talk about in that class is that we are kind of socialized out of self-soothing techniques. Like we soothe babies all the time. And many times when we have a baby, we are stroking their back or rubbing their back or, holding them close to our body.
Yeah.
Sometimes even skin on skin. And so I think that's a really important thing to remember, that we can self-soothe and it's okay. And I love that idea of, touching your chest. I do that too. I will actually put my hand, I'm doing it right now. You guys can't see, but I'm putting my hand just on my chest skin, my hand skin to my chest skin and just rubbing. And it's such a great way of just reminding yourself, I'm okay. In this moment, I am safe. I am fine. And it's just another one of those tools of reminding your body, your brain, your body, your spirit that all is well. Everything's okay in this moment.
Yes. And you're reminding me of, the whole point of tapping is to just bring down that stress level. And sometimes our brains, they don't know whether we're in true danger or not. That subconscious brain, that amygdala, they call it, is just, it's on high alert. And so this is to try to bring that down from high alert to, you know what, I don't really need to be in high alert. I can be safe and I'm not really, I don't really have a tiger chasing me. That's how this whole thing started, was with our ancestors way back when, they had to have a stress response so their body would kick in and protect itself. And our stresses today are so much different, meeting a work deadline or taking care of our kids or arriving at their recital on time or whatever.
Yeah.
And we have to get through that and calm our brain down and help it realize, it's not in any true bodily harm, danger.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So can you walk us through just a tapping session and with the statement and all that, so we kind of know this is
Yes.
what it would look like? And how many times through, you don't have to do it this many times on the podcast unless you really want to, but how many times through is a normal session?
Yeah, that's a good question. So when you start tapping, you generally kind of start with the negative, like how you're feeling. You're stating the truth. And think of it that way, as stating the truth, not focusing on the negative. But you state the truth, you go through, I would say, 2 or 3 rounds of all the 8 points, with the more truthful statements and how you're feeling, and just bringing that to the surface, trying to tap that feeling down a little bit. And then you actually do 2 or 3 rounds saying more positive, structured things like, I'm safe, it's okay, even though it feels like I'll never get through this, I've done this before, those types of things.
So you're kind of doing a reframe of,
Yeah,
you're going from like what I am feeling, what's scaring me, or whatever is happening inside of me. It's okay. I love myself. And then you kind of are training your brain to reframe it in a different way.
exactly.
Okay.
Very good.
Perfect.
So there's kind of a couple things we do before and after we do the actual tapping that only take a second, but are so effective because it helps us know if we're making progress. So Nick Ortner calls it subjective units of distress scale. And basically what that means is like when you go to the doctor and they say, is your pain 0 to 10, 10 being the highest, 0 being not at all, where you at? So that they know where they start and where you end. So I would just say right now we're going to tap on being stressed out, because
It's
most of us
common.
are.
So
So
many
think
of us
about,
women are always stressed out.
yeah, so think about what situation right now is causing you the most stress. And then just in your mind, just have that idea of what that is.
Okay.
And then give it a scale of 0 to 10, and 10 being the most stressed out ever, and 0 being not stressed out at all. And then we'll have our statement be, even though I feel stressed out at this moment, I deeply and completely accept myself. And so now we're ready to start on that karate chop point. And so just do it with me.
Okay.
And I will say the words and kind of guide you where you're going to tap. So starting to tap on your karate chop point, we're saying, even though I don't feel safe enough right now and I'm really overwhelmed, I love and accept myself. And again, even though this feels really stressful right now and my to-do list is a mile long, I still deeply and completely accept myself. And the third time on karate chop, even though it feels like I'm never going to get all my work done, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And now moving to your eyebrow point, we just repeat these statements of what's causing us stress. I can't get everything done that I need to. The side of your eye, all these feelings of being overwhelmed. Under your eye, I'm feeling so much stress and it's overwhelming me. Under your nose, there's simply too much to do. Chin, I'm overwhelmed. Collarbone, there's so much to do. I'm so stressed. Under your arm, and there's just not enough time. On top of your head, I can't handle everything that is on my plate. And just so you know, if you start getting emotional or start yawning, that's good. It's releasing the emotions, and that's what we want it to do. Again, on your eyebrow, how am I going to get all this done? Side of your eye, I can't get it all done. Under your eye, because I have so much to do. Under your nose, I need help. On your chin, there aren't enough hours in the day. Collarbone, to get all of this done. Under your arm, I'm feeling so stressed. On top of your head, all these feelings of being stressed and overwhelmed. And for sake of time, we'll move more to the positive now. Moving to your eyebrow, I choose to relax. Side of your eye, I have the resources I need to get my projects done. Under your eye. Things will work out. Under your nose. I choose to release this feeling of being overwhelmed. On your chin. I have to do what I have to do. Collarbone. I can do this. Under your arm. Being stressed out about this isn't helping me. Top of your head. Releasing this and letting it go. And one more round of positive. Eyebrow. I choose to relax. Side of the eye. I'm in control and I choose to relax. Under your eye. Things will work out. Under your nose. I choose to release this feeling of being overwhelmed. On your chin. I can do this. Collarbone. I'm starting to feel better already. Under your arm. I release these feelings. And top of head. Letting them all go. And just take a deep breath in and out. And go back to that scale now. And give yourself a number. And notice, did you come down at all? Did you stay the same? Did it actually get worse? It could do any of these things. What we want it to do is to start moving down, because then we're less stressed and we're less worried about whatever's going on in our body.
Yeah.
So and based on that number, do it again if it's not gone down enough, or if it went up. And then if it did go up, maybe you have some new thoughts that you need to tap on and recognize those and tap through some of those thoughts. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but just thinking about what's bothering you and seeing that number come down is what's important. And, I say a good 3 or less is usually good enough to move forward, to know that you've made progress. And you can always come back and tap on it again, just bring it down enough to get through the situation, and then later come back to it if you need to.
Yeah.
And different things will trigger us at different times. So
absolutely. What I find really interesting is that you said sometimes it can go up. The very first time, I've only done tapping sessions twice, I think. And the very first time I did it, I didn't really know anything about it. And it was in a group setting. And so the practitioner was kind of walking us through exactly kind of what you just did and saying the things, and we were all tapping. And I actually had a very emotional response. Mine went up for sure. I think I started at like a 7 or something. This was months ago, so I'm trying to remember, but I think I started around a 7, and it actually went up to like an 8.5, and I started crying. And and when we got done, I was like, what is happening? And she's like, that's totally normal. It happens sometimes. Sometimes if we just have been holding on to emotions very intensely, this is a way to get things moving. And our body is like, it's starting to feel safe, and it's starting to recognize, I can let go. I don't have to hold on to this. It's okay. And so she just explained, just as you did, that sometimes it can go up, and you just go through it again and allow your body to recognize, continue to recognize you are safe. We're safe. It's all fine. We can allow this emotion to be here. It's not a problem. And then it starts to go down. And the second time we went through again, my level did go down, I think to a 6 or a 5.5 or something. But yeah, it was very interesting to me that I would have that kind of response at the beginning, and to just be reassured, as you reassured everyone, like, it's okay. That's normal. There's nothing wrong with you if that happens. It's totally fine. Yeah.
You're working through those emotions, and that's what helps take the trigger out. And I think that's kind of what Nick says too, if you can look back, if you're dealing with a certain situation instead of just a feeling, if you're looking back on a traumatic situation and you're tapping through that experience, you'll know when you've processed it enough, when you can look back on it and not feel the emotional trigger to it. You have the memory still, that doesn't go away, but you don't feel triggered and upset by it anymore.
Yeah. You've allowed your nervous system to recognize this is no longer a threat. We're okay. Yes, yeah. Exactly. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else that we should know or that you want that you think the audience should know when it comes to tapping, or even just your experience with it and how it's kind of led to other modalities that you continue to use in your life as a healing practitioner?
I do want to talk about some of the things you can tap on, because really you can tap on so many things. There's a list of things, but four main points would be you could tap on symptoms or side effects. Like if you have a headache, this could be because of the stress in your body. So you can actually tap on pain in your body.
Oh,
You can talk,
interesting.
just you would say, even though I have this headache, I love and accept myself. Or even though I have this neck pain or back pain or whatever. And Nick Ortner has done this. He has a movie also called The Tapping Solution, which you may want to watch, or just look him up. And he walks people through these experiences, and he's had some amazing things happen with people in pain. And I think that was his first experience with it, was he had a kink in his neck when he woke up one morning. He's like, I'm going to see if this tapping stuff works. And it really did. For me, it will help sometimes, but it's not always. But hey, why not try it?
Yeah. And I think the cool thing about learning new techniques and having your toolboxes, as we say, often full of different modalities to try, is just try it out and see what works for you. And I tell
Yeah.
my listeners so often, one thing that worked for me the other day, and I'll try and do it the next day, it might not work the next day, and I'll go back to it in a couple of days. So sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. And it doesn't mean, again, that something has gone wrong. It just means that maybe your body is looking for, another way of allowing that language of your body to come out in that
Yeah,
moment.
that's true. That's really true. I say I like to be out in nature, and I love to walk, but I hate running. So to me, I would try this. I would try running if I thought if it would help me. And so, give it a try,
Yeah.
and do it a few days in a row, and trust the other people that have used it and found success in it. And I will even say that there's studies, I don't know all the details of the studies, but there's studies of how this lowers cortisol in the body, and how it helps our veterans process through traumatic stress, the PTSD that they have, and how it can bring their levels of stress down and help them deal with life when life feels really hard. So definitely don't just put it aside. Give it a try. Think about it. Think
Absolutely. I
about it
think
some
so
more.
too.
So some other things we can tap on are, like we've been talking about, our emotions and feelings. We can talk about or tap on events, like we were saying, traumatic events or things that happen that upset us, your argument with your spouse, or if things don't go the way you want it to in certain situations, or dealing with certain people. Certain people can be triggers to us.
Yeah, for many of my listeners, it's their ex. Their ex
Yeah.
is a huge trigger, getting an email or getting a text or having to drop the kids off or exchange kids. That is a big trigger. And having something that you can do in your car on the ride home, or in your
Yes.
bedroom while you're, sitting there waiting for the kids to get home or something like that, is going to be very useful.
Yes, it is. It is. And I love that. And then you just kind of take that power back, and not that you need to control everything, but that it helps you feel like you're not useless or hopeless in the situation.
Yeah,
That you still
absolutely.
have a voice. Yeah. So another one would be like limiting beliefs. Sometimes we just tell ourselves, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, and we have these beliefs that really limit our potential. So if we find that we are stuck in some of those beliefs, we can tap on them and see if that releases the hold that has on us in some things. So those are some other things. I'm trying to look through my notes.
I really like the idea of allowing these meridian points on our body that we're going to be tapping on, and then saying the statement. It's like a reconnection of your mind and your body and your breath, basically, because the whole time we're breathing, we're connected to ourselves, we're in the moment, we're in the here and now. And to be able to kind of rewire our brain, like so many of us women. I mean, we literally are socialized to give everything of ourselves and to, kind of see ourselves as second class in a way that like, I'm just the mom. I, give to everyone else, and then maybe I can think about myself. And so it's often a reason why we do think of ourselves as not good enough, or, because if we don't show up in a specific way or an expected way, we will put ourselves down. And so rewiring our brain and using the body and the mind to connect together, I think that's so important. And so using this as a reframe way of reminding yourself, like, I am lovable. I am worthy exactly as I am. I am, whatever it is that you might be struggling with when it comes to not believing that you're good enough, or not believing that you, have the potential to do the things that you want to create and do in your life. I love that you can use this as a way to, rewire your brain and also connect your body to that in the same way. It's so
Yes.
beautiful.
And we don't have to spend a lot of time, because that's another thing we don't have a lot of as moms.
Yeah.
We don't have time to go have a 20-minute bath all the time. We'd love to. But we can spend, 5 or 10 minutes, or do it while we're taking the kids to soccer practice or whatever, once we've practiced at this. And just, I wanted to reiterate it, the 3 steps one more time, because it's as easy as making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You got that bottom piece of bread, even though you got the middle peanut butter part, I feel blank about this. And then you've got the top part, I love and accept myself, or I deeply and completely accept myself, or either of those 2 statements. But there's just those three parts to remember. And then you start tapping through as many points as is comfortable for you at the time, and till you start seeing those numbers and those emotions come down and not be so triggering.
I love it. I think
Yeah.
this is going to be so useful for many of my listeners. And I thank you so much for being here and really just kind of sharing yourself, sharing this experiential thing that you have found in your life with my listeners. And is there anything else that you want to let us know about how your experience has been when it comes to tapping?
I just find it encouraging to be empowered with tools that do help me feel better in life, because I have often been depressed, or I have been through lots of hard things. And as I get older, I just realize there's might be more hard things than easy things. And, life isn't turning out the way I thought it would when I was younger. And so we need these tools to help us cope through some of those difficult situations, and through those tough experiences in our life. And so that energy work has just really become my passion. It's helped me so much through difficult things. And now, I want to share those tools with other people and help and coach them and teach them the things that I've learned. I think that's just kind of a natural process, at least for me, to want to share things that I love with other people and help have them benefit in their own lives.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. I love that you shared that you have struggled with depression, and that life didn't really turn out the way you exactly planned, because I think that's the story for so many of us. Is we,
Yes.
we have this idea of how our life is going to go. I for sure experienced that. I talk about this a lot on my podcast about getting married at 19 and really having this expectation of what my life was going to look like. And then, after 20 years of marriage, getting a divorce and going, what? I never expected that to happen. And so
Right.
I think so many of us have that experience of thinking life is going to go one way and then it doesn't, but really opening ourselves up to what is out there that I can use as a tool to reconnect with myself, and not look at my life as like everything is terrible, it's the worst and I don't know what to do, but rather open myself up to how can I love myself where I'm at, and where do I want to go from here?
Yes. Yes. And I'll just say that I have prepared a PDF that shows the tapping points, the 8 steps, the process, so that if your audience wants to reach out and grab that, download that.
Awesome. That
They
would be
can,
so useful. Tell us where do they go to find that?
okay, so they can text me at 801-449-1992. Just the word tapping is fine. Or my email is Steph, STEPH, at stepwsteph.com. So I think you'll have that in your notes,
I
but my
will.
business is Step with Steph. So that's where
Yes, I will put all of the information, all of the links that we might need, and I'll even add the phone number down in the show notes. So anybody who is really interested in getting that PDF that kind of walks you through the 8 meridian points and walks you through what a tapping process, just like we did today on the podcast, would look like, they can either text you or go get on your email list and get that. And that's amazing. Stephanie, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your time and you sharing so much of your experience with us.
Thank you, and everybody have a good day.
If you like what you're learning on the podcast and you're ready to create lasting change and results in your life, then you need to be working one-on-one with Karen as your divorce coach. This is where we take everything you're learning in the podcast and 10x it with implementation and weekly coaching, where you start to see change in yourself and your life immediately. To find out more about how to work exclusively with Karen, go to www.karennelsoncoaching.com. That's www.KarinNelsoncoaching.com. Thanks for listening. If this podcast agreed with you in any way, please take a minute to follow and give it a rating wherever you listen to podcasts. And for more details about how I can help you live an even better life than when you were married, make sure and check out the full show notes by clicking the link in the description.